How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Smith, and I'm thrilled to have you here for this compelling season dedicated to the inspiring stories featured in the book series, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. Each week, we'll spotlight an extraordinary woman as she shares her path of courage, resilience, and personal growth. These are stories that will move you, challenge you, and remind you of the transformative power of letting go. Today, I am delighted to introduce you to Amy Quesenberry. Amy is a motivational speaker, the creator of the Start With Compassion framework, CEO of Quesenberry Consulting, and the Director of Training and Organizational Development at Rick Engineering. Amy has her master's in organizational leadership and is an organizational development coach. She has spent the majority of her career focusing on the employee and client experience. After 20 years in human capital, she created a framework that helps transform how we show up individually and collectively through compassionate actions, inspiration, and fostering better connections, creativity, and innovative thinking, all of which we can certainly use in our world today. Amy lives in San Diego, California with her husband and 2 dogs. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here with you today.
I'm excited to dive into your story and your work around compassion and letting go. So let's start today with you sharing a little bit more about your story in the book, Lessons in Letting Go.
Wow. Yeah. So I first want to start with, when I was asked to author a chapter, I was so excited. I was elated. And then I got into writing the chapter and I didn't realize kind of what I got myself into because it was really difficult. It was really difficult, but at the same time, it was so cathartic and it was so healing. And I didn't realize all the gifts that I was going to receive emotionally, physically, psychologically as a result of writing this chapter. So I want to quickly say thank you to Hope and Jennifer, and also Shigs, who's the one who brought me in to, who told me about Brave Women at Work and possibly authoring a chapter. So I really delve into briefly some trauma from my youth that I spent the next few decades self-sabotaging, isolating, self-medicating, doing things that really weren't healthy, that were not just hard on me, but hard on the people around me. And then I started to, one claw, if you will, at a time, climb out of the darkness. And really, there's another life for us. Let's go find that life.
Yeah.
I tell the story of a friend, and people are going to say, what kind of friend is that? But a friend, okay, that has been in my life for a long time. But on occasion, when we would hug, his hand would go from my waist to my rear end and grope me. And when that happened, I was immediately catapulted to the shame and the frozen And I never said anything. And as a result of writing this chapter, I really came to this awareness. It's actually a girlfriend of mine said this to me. She said she saw this thing on Instagram, and it's, I am no longer willing to be silent so that others around me can be comfortable while they're doing harm on any spectrum of what that harm may be. And so the next time my friend came to my house, I asked them to go out front with me. And I told them, staring them straight in the eye, sometimes when we hug, your hand goes from your waist to my butt. You're never going to do that again. It's wrong. It's inappropriate. And I'm going to guess that you don't just do it to me, but you do it to other women as well. Wow. You're never going to do that again. Ooh. And he said, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll never do it again. And when I did that, I felt like I took my power back from every person that treated or touched me in a harmful way. It's really like letting go of hiding, of minimizing wrongs, of acting like everything is okay when it's really not, and listening to the voice that's screaming inside saying, that's not okay.
And doing something about it. Like, let's not forget that, because most people wouldn't. And now you've saved so many others from that same situation, from that one person. It takes a lot of strength to open up about something so difficult. Tell me, what inspired you to share it with the Brave Women at Work community?
I really have to say, I had multiple experiences with Shigs. We call her Shigs. She goes by Shigs. Sheila Higgs Burkhalter is her official name, but everybody knows and loves her as
Shout
Shigs,
out to Shigs.
That's right. That's right. I actually met, I was a speaker with Shigs at a women's conference in June of 2024, or late May. And I just had an instant connection to her. We stayed connected. I invited her to be a guest speaker on a conference that me and a colleague of mine were putting on. And as we continued to stay connected and exchange networks and all of this, she made the introduction to Hope and Jennifer. And I was already reading one of their books, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Leadership. And I get this email from Shigs one day, Amy, they're getting ready to start the work on Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. Would you like to be a part of it? And I took a breath and I thought, wow, the framework that I created, Start with Compassion, for me to get to that point, for me to create that framework and then spend the next 2.5, 3 years working the framework, the therapist that I worked with in my healing, the life coach that I worked with in my healing, for me to get to where I'm at today, I had to let go of a lot. I really had to let go of a lot. And I thought, I do have a story to tell, and I would be honored to share it in this forum. So
amazing. And this forum is such a unique way to share a story, especially a story that isn't publicly known. And I guess like the forum that comes to my mind is our group of authors, and then the authors beyond Lessons in Letting Go, like you were just mentioning, Lessons in Leadership and the other books that are part of this community. It's so unique. It's also very creative, and it's also very powerful to be able to do that in this type of, I guess I'll use the word container, and then to bring it into the world together, I also think is really unique and creative and powerful. So I'm so grateful for Shigs and Jen and Hope as well for bringing you into this community and sharing this story. And I know it's hard to talk about and kind of relive these things. And then you think about the ripple effect of who it's going to empower and inspire and help, and so many other women along the way that may be going through it right now or have gone through it, or are anticipating sharing their story as well. So So shout out to the whole community here.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the idea of letting go. So this is the theme of the book that we're part of, and it's a universal theme, I think, in life and career for a lot of people, but probably has lots of different meanings. So can you tell us about a pivotal moment in your life where letting go changed how you show up or impacted your path?
Yeah. I want to say something that's specific to the work environment.
Sure.
Because honestly, there's so many moments, but there's three that came to my head immediately when you asked that question. I'm going to choose the one at the very top. And that is, I was either a senior I was a senior manager, senior HR manager within a company of about 75,000 employees across the globe. And I was on a call, and I was always nervous to talk. So I actually have a speech impediment. I've stuttered my whole life, but I took 12 years of speech therapy to minimize my stutter. And so people don't see it, but I work very hard to not stutter. And the 12 years of therapy helped, clearly, right? And sometimes it's funny. Sometimes when I talk about it, makes a guest appearance. It's like, oh, let me show you.
I never would have known. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So anyways, a little shout out to my speech therapist at Rose Avenue and the Loma and Thomas Downey High School. Thank you. All right. So I was very intimidated to unmute my phone and share if I had something to add, if I knew that what's being said, this isn't an accurate representation of what's going on. Because a lot of times you're on with leadership and they don't know necessarily the day to day. They're very strategic focused, but you're the ones that's more at the level I was, really focused on the ground, the day to day, the minute details. I was too scared to speak up, and I would sit on mute. And then one day I had this revelation, and I said, you know what, Amy, this company is paying you for your expertise, for your skills, for your intel, for your knowledge, all of it. You need to stop being afraid. Okay, you stutter. Okay, you stammer. Everybody has something. Let it go, Amy. And I unmuted my phone and I started to say what I thought leadership needed to hear, what I knew, whether they wanted to hear it or not. And within a pretty short amount of time, I was promoted from a senior manager to a director role.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was suddenly like, oh, Amy has something to add. Amy has something to say. And by the way, it's adding value. But I was holding myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I have goosebumps because I can picture it, and I guess I can feel that too. Just kind of being an introvert and getting nervous to talk in front of people, I can certainly relate to that. And that mute button on a conference call with the leadership team, like I was right there with you. And it's really powerful when you said, let it go, Amy, stop being afraid. And then look exactly, pretty quickly it sounded like, look what happened right after that. So you are recognized for your value. And then that encouragement, I'm sure, allowed for more and more and more. And now you're a motivational speaker.
I know. People are so funny. They're like, wait, so you stutter and you're a speaker?
No, I think it's amazing.
What do you want? Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Wow. That's a lot to work through too. And, I spent a lot of my career in HR as well. And especially when you're in HR, a lot of times with larger organizations, you're one of a pretty small team, usually depending on how how it's structured. And you're supporting, if you're a business partner, you're supporting leadership, and there's a lot that they're counting on you for, and so being able to feel like you can add value and share what you have to say is really important to the business too. And so I wanted to point out how you brought that into play as well. So it wasn't, on you. It was, hey, they're paying me. I'm part of this business. I'm part of this team. I have something to say. So it's a big piece of it.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about compassion. So your work, it sounds like you are on a mission to share the transformative power of compassion and how that can shape our careers and our lives. And so talk to us about how you define compassion and why do you dedicate your work to it?
Yeah. I really define compassion as you see something that you feel you can make a difference in. Maybe it's yourself, self-compassion, right? Maybe it's something else. Somebody needs help. You feel like you can make a difference somewhere. But it's saying, it's not just going, I wish, I think, I wonder, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something about that thing. And in my framework, the way it works, what happens when you do that thing is you actually get, it's called the helper's high. Dopamine and oxytocin start firing off in your brain, and that boosts your mood. Okay. Now, think about the best ideas, the most productive, the most engaged, the most creative. Are you in a positive mind space or a negative mind space?
Mm-hmm.
Positive, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine the ripple effect that you're going to make in the world by doing this one small, medium, big thing. And then what happens when you commit to a lifestyle of showing up and starting with compassion? Imagine what your life can look like. And so compassion is truly transformational. It takes work. It's not easy. I'm not going to act like it's a light switch that you can just turn on. Mm-hmm. But that's where I've created a framework that breaks it down of how you can show up as more compassionate. And I always say for yourself first, because you can't give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? But if we start with ourselves and then imagine that ripple effect. And I just want to say one more thing, Jennifer, before I turn it back over to you.
Please, yes.
When we think about our world today and the things that pain us, the things that hurt our heart and hurt our head, imagine how different things could be if we all were just a little bit more compassionate, first to ourselves and then to the people around us. Just imagine what world we could create with that transformation, with that minor change.
It's hard to imagine, sadly, in the world that we're in today. I'm glad that you pointed out to start with yourself. One of the things that I find working with a lot of folks, and even my own self, is we're a lot harder on ourselves than we are on others. And sometimes I like to share with folks like, hey, how would you show up for your best friend in that moment? And then think about that and then do that for your own self too. And so maybe that's like a way, I don't know if you use that. Sometimes I use that with folks just to help them, like, it's okay. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. So give yourself some grace, give yourself some compassion, and then do that with others. And imagine that world. Now, go back to your framework real quick. So you have this fabulous acronym, and I'm going to pull out one of them. The one that jumped out at me was one of the S's. That is silence the judger. Okay, so this jumped out at me, and I would love for you to share with listeners a little bit more about why that's critical and kind of what you mean by that when you're showing up or starting with compassion.
Silence the judger. Silence the judger is it. First of all, it's also the single most critical piece of the framework. Without it, the framework can't work.
Oh.
So you literally went to the heart of the framework from the perspective of the C. So first of all, the acronym is compassion. Okay. So C is connected. You cannot be connected with another person in a compassionate way. You may connect with them, but not in a compassionate way, and be in a state of judgment at the same time. It's impossible to be both, right? If I'm judging you, Jennifer, am I really in a compassionate state of mind?
Probably not, right?
Probably not. Yeah. So when we go into judgment, even if we're connected, we sever the connection that's there, right? We sever that. So that's the foundational awareness around silence the judger. But then let's dig into silence the judger deeper. And that is understanding that we all have different paths. We all have different walks. We all have different choices and ways to live our lives. And the person, I don't care if it's you, the person down the street, the person across the world from me, I don't know their truth. I don't know their reality. I don't know what they're going through. But when I see something they're doing and I start to judge it, okay, I rob them of their autonomy because I just made it about me and the story that's in my head based on the minimal amount of information that I have. And so what I like to say is when we find ourselves in this judgmental state, to just turn the volume down. Just turn the volume down. So that's why I like to say silence. If you've ever been in your car and you hear somebody's voice on the radio, maybe there's a song or you're just not in the mood and if you've ever been to that place where you're like, nope, not working for me, and you just turn the volume down, that's it. Just turn the volume down. And then that'll help you be present in that moment and see them more as a human being and not an object to be judged,
right?
Or a situation to be judged.
Right. And then I'm in my mind, I'm tying that back to our lessons in letting go and what we've all been through. Like people have been through things that you just have no idea about. And so who are we, right, to judge another person without really knowing what's at their core or why they're acting the way that they're acting, and turning that volume down or noticing that you're doing it. I think obviously the awareness that you mentioned is really key. And then taking a pause, turning it down, and then moving forward with compassion. It's a big deal. So thanks for that lesson. I learned a lot. And I love the helper's high too. You know, the mood boosters when you show compassion and you help others and you get that high. And I always hear people say, like, I really want to help others. And there's a reason for that because it feels good. And so I never heard it called helper's high though. So thanks for pointing that out. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Of course. Now, we just talked about a couple practical ways to silence the judger in order to show up with compassion. Tell me some more. Help our listeners show up more with compassion. So what are some other practical and tactical ways?
Yeah. So you already pointed out one, and that's awareness. That's the A. That's the A. The A actually stands for awareness and acceptance. Because when we are aware of what's going on around us, going on within us, right? So if we take that judgmental, I'm judging somebody, I find, I realize, I'm judging that person. You just brought awareness to it. Now what are you going to do about it? Right? So accept it. I'm judging somebody, accepting that. And then what's your next step? Right? What are you going to do now? And so when we can bring awareness to situations, I think another thing that's really big is being open-minded. That's the O, right? When sometimes, and we see this, I sometimes see this a lot in business. Maybe there's listeners out there or you that have seen this where we're set on our agenda, what we want. And we really don't have an open mind. We don't realize that our mind is open to, there's other ways to do this. There's other perspectives. And when we connect, when we open our mind, when we listen, imagine what can happen. Imagine what can happen as a result of us. I'm picturing a leader that walks into a meeting and they know exactly what the goal is. They know what they want to achieve, right? And they know the solution. They're set on it. They walk into this meeting, and the meeting is intended to strategize and get ideas, but they are dead set. Well, what happens if there's somebody in the room that has a solution that is less costly, right? Time and cost efficient, right? What happens if that's right in the room, and because of the way you showed up, you're going to prevent that message from coming through, right? I'm telling you, I've been in meetings like this. I've seen it happen over and over again, or barrier after barrier after barrier. Well, what is possible? What is possible? And there was one more thing, and I really bounced around this, and that's the M, and that's M is for moments. And you've brought this up a couple of times. How you show up matters. And, that is one of the most beautiful gems that has come out of the Start with Compassion framework, is that you can transform your life through compassion. If you can get really clear on what's important to you, and then work the framework to say, I'm going to get myself ready, and I'm going to get myself on task, on target, laser focused on this, and show up as your best because you are showing up with compassion. I've seen it transform my life, so many people's lives. It's been absolutely powerful. So
I can only imagine, and I can tell you've been there when it isn't, and I think that's what makes you in this framework so powerful, because you've seen the opposite of it. You've seen when it doesn't happen and the potential of what could be. I think about the times where I've heard, we've always done it this way. The ultimate killer of any ideas, any innovation, any creativity. It's the worst phrase I think that anyone could happen or say at work. I mean, and so to be open-minded and to be curious and to just ask others for their ideas and their opinions as a leader is so critical. But then you think about the team members. So being on a team where your leader is asking for your ideas and showcasing compassion in all the moments is huge. I mean, imagine how engaged and how happy you would feel. Imagine a world where everyone has a compassionate leader. How fun would work be?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I want to add that compassion doesn't mean soft.
Right.
It doesn't mean weak. I actually just had a fantastic conversation with a leader at my organization the other day. I don't align to this leader, but a lot of the work I do, this leader is, it goes to this leader. And this leader gave me some feedback that I wasn't aware in a way that I was showing up that was actually getting in the way of me getting the results that I wanted. And it was such a gift. I was able to instantly take that feedback and implement it that very next day. And I saw results and that is compassionate leadership, telling your people what they need to hear, but he did it in a compassionate way. He didn't come down with an iron fist. It was absolutely, I wish it was videotaped, because it was textbook of what feedback should look like.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great story. It makes me think I heard somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, but they talked about giving feedback with compassionate directness. So it's
Ooh.
direct feedback and, with the compassion that you just talked about. So I think that resonates, right? So it's like you give the feedback immediately, you're specific about it, and you're direct about it, and you're at the root, it's based in compassion. And so, yeah, what a great leader, and how lucky are you?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that story. It's a great example. Amy, as we wrap up here, what guidance would you like to leave listeners, especially those that might be navigating a season of challenge or change and maybe their own stories of letting go? What guidance would you like to leave them?
Yeah, I'd like to do it in a story. Can I do it with the story?
Please, yes.
So this is a story. This story actually starts out my chapter. It's absolutely adorable. One of my friends, Peter, he told me about this story when he was very young. And this man has a beautiful Australian accent. He's absolutely precious. He said that as a child, he wanted to hold all of his toys at the same time, wanted to hold all of them, but he inevitably couldn't. He couldn't get all of his toys in his little arms and his little hands at the same time. And there would always be one or two on the floor, and he'd stretch and reach and try to grab. And he'd look at his mom with pleading eyes and say, Mom, or in his beautiful accent, could you grab that toy for me? And his mom would look at him and say, you need to make a decision, Peter. Which toy are you going to put down so that you can have the toy that's on the floor? Because you can't have all of it, Peter. And I love that story because for me to be able to embrace the goodness in my life, I had to put the trauma down. I had to say, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. But this is where we're at now. And there's so much beauty and there's so much goodness in my life. I'm going to put this down and I'm going to walk into the beautiful, bright light that's surrounding me.
What a beautiful story. And I could picture Peter with all the toys and all the things. And it's true. You can't, you have to make room for new things. And so by letting go, you're making room and space for new things. And that's what you did in your story and in your life. And our world is certainly better for it, Amy. I mean, the message that you're sharing is so needed in today's world. And I just thank you so much for sharing it and repeating it as often as, you possibly can. And listeners, please go out there and follow Amy's work. This, compassion is so needed in everything that we do. So Amy, where can people find you?
Oh, please come visit me on my website, startwithcompassion.com. And then I'm all over social media, Start With Compassion. Start With Compassion. It's the little heart with the SWC. That's the icon. All right. Perfect. So Jennifer, thank you for having me as a guest. And thank you for hosting all of the authors in the Brave Women at Work Lessons in Letting Go book. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for joining me, Amy, and sharing all this wisdom. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. My hope is that the stories in this series serve as a powerful reminder that life and careers are rarely easy or linear. It's the courage to let go and embrace the unknown that shapes our paths. Don't miss next week's episode where we'll hear from another amazing author sharing her story of courage and resilience. In the meantime, if you enjoyed these stories, take them home with you. Go grab a copy of Lessons in Letting Go on Amazon and support this fabulous project. We'll talk to you next time.